Okay, hey, what's going on, everyone? It's myself, TheGreenViper8, and this is a game known as Sonic Chrono Adventure, a fan game that's in a style of a Metroidvania, but also a Sonic game. So, you know, how it goes. It's a little bit rough around the edges, but hopefully it's a bit of fun for what is here Friday night. For you guys, it's probably Friday afternoon, but still, I appreciate that. But let's go ahead and move on over to the menu. And let me know when you're ready.
I am good to go as soon as you count it down.
Okay, right. So, 3, 2, 1, go. So this game starts off with its very intriguing plot. We're going to be seeing a lot of this throughout. We've got to find out the mystery of this island we're currently on. Not that we're going to be paying too much attention to that, because hopefully we're going to try and text mash through all of this. But starts off pretty standard Sonic game. You gotta run fast, and that's going to be the main theme. But there's a lot of gimmicks in true Metroidvania fashion, or in true Sonic game fashion, so to say. And we've also got a lot of power-ups, which is the actual Metroidvania fashion I meant to mention. So for the starters, we're going to be running all the way to the right here, and we're going to be trying to access a shop, which gives us various power-ups, or the more so power-ups that we can purchase rather than ones that are integral to the story. But that is, for some reason, also integral to the story. Not really sure why they made it that way, but, you know, it's what we do. So, this one's a fairly standard stage. This is about as normal as it gets, so enjoy it while it lasts. But this game right here is a 2013 fan game. It's the final in a trilogy of 4 of probably the highest rated fan games in the sort of Sonic fan game sphere, along with its other kind of related, kind of not games. Sonic Before the Sequel, Sonic After the Sequel, and my personal favourite, Sonic Before the Sequel Aftermath. Sonic Before the Sequel Aftermath is the other Metroidvania that was a test game for this game, and the other 2 are traditional platformers. So this one is this one's a bit of it more of its own thing, whereas Before the Sequel Aftermath is trying really hard to be a Sonic game, but just also be a test for this one. This one gets to fully flesh out its own ideas. We get to see a lot more of what it has to offer. And in relation to the question posed in the chat, is this are these original assets or are they reused? I believe the majority of the level artwork is new. It's just the music you're going to be hearing in the background is a combination of stuff taken from Lake Fepard's other fan games, and also stuff taken from official games like this song here. For the most part, I think it's taken from other fan games. So this introduces us to the Silver Ring mechanic. I think they have an official name, I don't know. But it allows us to buy either rings or shields. I always go for safety rings, because rings are always extremely helpful, especially in a marathon setting. They can just quickly get me out of a pinch. Whereas the shields are a lot more useful if I want to play risky, which I'm not really willing to do right now and risk dying. Especially when I'm trying to save time. This is a speedrun after all, and the time saved from using the shields versus the time potentially lost is just too much. But we've got to go all the way back the way we came, except not quite. We're on a different path, but it's the same level. So we're going against normal conventions in the series, and we're going left to right, and we're going to be going all over the place, really, throughout the course of this game. There is a map system which I have to pause to show you, so it's not really worth it, but you'll see pictures of it throughout the game, and I'll probably try and point it out when it happens. It's really confusing. Many casual players get lost playing this game, so it's just recommended use a guide or use a YouTube guide, whatever you want to do. But this game's best played, despite its Metroidvania fashion, it's just best played linear, which is when you know the route of the game. And the route of the game is fairly complex. It's just a matter of muscle memory for me at this point. Without muscle memory, I'd be damn screwed, because the plot doesn't even tell you, plot doesn't even begin to tell you where you're meant to go. You just got to guess most of the time. So we're about to come up on some more plot in just a moment once we get out of this stage. Nothing hugely interesting. Thankfully the game does give us the option to completely bypass it all. There's some of the Chrono Adventure community in the chat room right now, as far as I know, and they'll be crying at me for saying that, because apparently it's one of the best fan games / stories in general. Not sure I agree with that. It's got time travel, it's got original fan characters, weird transformations, but it's just a fun left to right game for me. This guy right here, who's apparently taking us back to the past, he's called EGATS. EGAT standing for Egg ATS after the sequel. He's a recurring villain in the series who is apparently meant to be evil, but we're not really given too much of a reason as to why, aside from the fact he works with Eggman. Here we are back in the past, and if you enjoyed the last Zelda run, we're about to run into our own Navi in just a second. But we've got to run through this rather annoying stage first of all. It's very heavily timing based. I've got to jump on all the right frames, etc. It can either be really slow or really fast, so it's, as a result, not one of my favourite stages to play. But it gets flashy when it's done right, so hopefully I can point in the right direction. Let's see if I can get a good run here. There's a lot of weird geometry in this game. It's kind of a meme that I bonk into a lot of stuff when I'm speedrunning, but the key is making sure that I don't get lost more than not bonking into every object. The large optimization comes first, the small optimization levels can come later, is the logic we've always seen it by. But the collision in this game can get a bit weird. It's fine normally, but there's some platforms they put in really weird places and have really weird hitboxes as well, just because of how they're physically designed. So we've got to watch out for them. Some slopes as well, drag you off in weird directions. And there is also a physics glitch that we'll be encountering a lot later on in the run, where if you jump into certain things with a spin dash, you can get completely stuck. And in occasions you can softlock the game, but most of the time you don't, and you can recover from it. But that's going to be a nasty one. If you ever see me just brushing up against the wall and I can't, it doesn't look like I'm doing anything, that's probably why. But we're coming up into the first major area of the run. This is Force Fortress Zone. It's a heavy auto-scroller in that it's not too awful. There's a lot of movement, but there's still a lot of waiting as well. I'm going to try and damage boost on some of the platforms. I've already missed one, but I'm going to try and do my best at least to get some of the others. And there's also going to be a lot of enemies trying to get in my way over the course of this stage. Nice comfy music though. That's one thing people always compliment about these games. There's a few later on that people are going to be like, oh, this is this from this game. I hope at least. It's a really good music selection here throughout. Very fitting most of the time. There's only a couple instances where I think it's really strange. But hey, at least it's nice comfy music to get us through one of the slowest sections. So there's a couple of platforms that I can slightly speed up the cycles of. This technically also runs on a cycle, and it's quicker just to damage boost through. As long as I keep enough rings on me, I need a minimum of 10, because if I lose 10 rings, every 10 rings you lose, it takes you down to another set of 10. So as long as I keep 10, I'm good. That should keep me at the very least at 0 rings, which is enough to keep me alive. I'm not going to damage boost through that one, I'm just going to play it safe, because I've got less than I need. So we're coming up to our first power-up here. This is the sword power-up, and if you've ever played a certain infamous Sonic game, official that is, Sonic and the Black Knight, it's kind of based off that, except nowhere near as fun, and that game already wasn't exactly beloved. The whole point of this is to slow you down, so you have to run into these walls, take ages to switch to your power-up, and then swing at the wall. It's very slow, but it's only in a couple sections, and it's just there to pad out the stage a bit. I'm once again damage boosting through this. I'm going to make sure to pick up a ring, just in case, because that could have ended quite badly. That's way quicker than doing it the intended way. Just going to run through a few places. We're trying to circle back round on ourselves so we can enter an area which was previously blocked off by a sword wall. You're going to notice that a couple times in the beginning of the game here. There's stuff we've already passed that we're going to have to go back to, that we can now access because we've got this power up. And it's not going to be long before we get our next one, which is significantly more useful throughout the entirety of the run. So they also ruin the level design of the section by taking away what could have been really challenging casually, instead just placing a bunch of red springs and letting you jump over everything. Also, I've never had that happen before, so there's always a first time for everything in these marathons. And now, obligatory cutscene. They make it look like you got trapped and you got to reset, but you don't. You just got to sit here and wait patiently. So we've got original the fan character here first of all. This guy's name is Jerem. I don't quite remember what he gets up to. It's been a long old time since I've played this game casually, so don't ask me for any plot details most of the time, except for the funny ones. He talks to us a bit. I skipped over what he said, but we're going back to the future now. And we're here in Fused Force in the future. So Radal is chewing our ear off about something or the other. Hey, you got to go this way. We're going to ignore her because this is the first major sequence break. And I say major, it's kind of minor, but it's major in terms of this game where there's very few glitches. So we are going to do a sequence break because we're meant to go over to the left and go to a stage called West City, which is where we have our first boss fight. We have our first encounter with Eggman. We completely skip it. So there are 3 text box triggers here. What I need to do is walk straight into them. It tells me, hey idiot, go to West City. I say no, and I keep on walking forward, and as long as I hit all 3, the game will never actually tell me to stop doing that. So I'm now free to walk off and not go to West City. So I've theoretically skipped about 5 or so minutes of gameplay here. And I did that correctly. Nice, that's one I kept messing up in practice. If you go too far to the right on that jump, you can hit the springs, and if you hit the springs, it's bad. So you have to wait there. It's the fall of shame. It takes like 10 seconds, but I did it. The rest of this stage is kind of just comfy speed running, actually going fast instead of waiting for platforms like we were before. We're speeding things up a bit finally, but we're trying to go back to the area we were in before. But we're almost there, and then we can break down the sword wall and go in a different direction. So for this first part of the game is just going to be a lot of time travelling all over the place until the plot decides to, actually we don't want to plot anymore. We kind of just want you to do your own thing. So once that kicks off, or once that all kicks off, we get all the plot going, then we're free to run around and do stuff at our own pace rather than the pace the game determines of us. Let's go and do that now. Okay, I'm going to make a save since I don't think I've actually done one yet, or I might have, but I just don't remember making one very recently. I'm going to do a spin dash jump here. And I missed it, nice! I'm misremembering my timings on some of these hills. Very slow, another walk of shame there. So there's a couple of stages that are kind of repeats of each other. Foliage Falls, there's a lot of these similar ones throughout the run. I always used to hate these, but they're pretty nice now. They're short-ish, and they're the leading gimmick stages. They all have their own unique things about them. This one has a lot of springs everywhere, and you've just got to traverse the springs. It's the least gimmicky of them all. The later ones, I'll have my complaints about them, don't you worry. But I've also got to avoid these spikes on the floor. It's fairly self-explanatory, actually, for a stage of this nature. I'm trying to carefully inch along those so I can land at the right angles, and I managed to do it. Very good. There's a lot of annoying enemies in this stage in particular. You might notice occasionally I purposely take damage on some of these spikes and some of the enemies as well, just to get iframes. Iframes are super useful in this game because hitting stuff is really slow when enemies have health bars. I'm potentially going the wrong way, which always happens on this stage, because it has a habit of doing that. I think, yeah, I need to go right here. This is the one stage that always screws me in this run, because if you fall down in just the wrong place, it will send you all the way to the left instead of the right where I need to go. I just need to do a specific jump here. I'm inching along. Missed it. Oh well. I can take this backup spring instead. About as fast. Maybe like a second or so slower. So, all in all, not much lost. And I've just got to inch along here. This corridor sucks. And that's pretty much all she wrote for this stage. Just got to get past these springs. And peel up to victory. So you might notice occasionally I'm swapping from east to west, west to east, that sort of thing. It doesn't actually matter that much. I've just got to memorise which way I need to go after the cutscene finishes, because it's not a particularly intuitive system. But this is our mandatory time travel point for the game, so I can time travel whenever I come to Old/Newcastle. Also, I can glitch out the cutscene like that every single time, and I will do that every single time. Trust me. So I'm going to go back on myself now that I'm in the past. I'm here in Newcastle. You'll see me wrap around the map quite often to come here when it's mandatory for me to time travel. And I'm going to come here to Tube Trail. So Tube Trail has some skips of its own. I'm going to try and see if I can get them, although it becomes much easier with a power-up later on in the game. They're pretty minor stuff, not anything major. Just some nice movement tricks here and there. One of which I already managed to do. One of which I messed up. But for the most part, the gimmick here is I get a really high jump, It's one of my favourite stages because I've got to control this high jump. There's a couple of pitfalls as well to make me lose time. Devs knew what they were doing. But there's also some in random sections. I'm genuinely not sure why they're in some places. And I've also got to dodge between these fireballs. There's some sections where I don't need a jump at all and they just give it to me. I guess it's just because he likes that glowy effect. Not too sure. But I'm just trying to run through right now and avoid these. Although that damage frame will actually do me quite good. Get through the rest of these. Or not, because I've just run out. This one's a pretty quick one though, and it's even quicker with the final power-up of the game. So I'm quite happy with how that went. Okay, back in Wild Winter. I don't like this stage at the best of times, but now I've got a round 2, so I've already missed the jump, which gives me a bunch of speed. Oh well. So I have the option of going for a sword wall this time, which just slightly speeds up my movement here. Misses a couple of the awkward sections. It's probably about 10-20 seconds faster than going the normal way, but I'll still take it. The time lost for sitting there and breaking down the walls versus the time saved from... Time saved and my mental patience saved as well, which is worth it. So that should bring me back to the save point. I've got to go all the way back to Force Fortress again to activate a cutscene with Jerem, original the fan character. So this already looks familiar, and it is, but it's going to trigger a cutscene which will then trigger a boss fight, and if you thought certain bosses in certain series were pathetic, wait until you see this one. This technically should be the second as well, so there's no excuse for it being as pitifully easy as it is. Also, this game gives you the ability to turn around in cutscenes, so I'm going to use that to my advantage and make it look like I'm ignoring everyone, which, truth be told, I am. So this section can be kind of rough, because I've got to take damage on certain frames in order to get past certain enemies. I'm just not getting this one at all, so I'm just going to run through him and take the L. Same with this one. They're not being nice to me today. You can run through them at certain times. Actually, I'm going to try this strat, because I've never tried it before. You're not being nice to me. Alright, we're just going to stroll through. That was a bit bad, but what can you do? We're going to climb all the way up here. I don't know where this guy is, who he's appeared from. Where he's appeared from, sorry. But if I've got my placement right, which I might not have done, I might have slightly messed this up. Or I might have just barely got it right. No, that's going to kill me. No, it's not. Huh? Yep, there we go. Okay. So there is a specific section you can stand it on this boss where you can stand in the same place and never take damage. It's stupid, really. You just got to dodge these attacks for long enough, and eventually we get saved, and then we time travel again out of nowhere. Yeah, that was really taxing. This time travel cutscene, there's no way to skip it either, so I just got to watch it every time. We're back in the future, and Eggman's got some sort of party going on, so we got to crash it, and we're going to earn ourselves a power-up in the process. So we finally get to go to the left. This guy fixed up the spring. Safety save, just in case. So all the way to the left here should be a power plant, which we're just going to try and get to now. That was nice. So this should take us to another one of the Tube Trials type stages. Yep. But luckily we don't actually have to play that much of it because it's all over now. So speaking of music that people will recognise, this is always one that people bring up. As soon as they hear it, they go, oh, wow. So this is Power Park Zone, and it's another one of those ones where the gimmick is jumping really high, except this time it's with static, and there's a bunch of balloons everywhere. Because it's a carnival / power plant at the same time. So I'm going to build up with static. It makes us jump off things. It makes us jump high. I'm going to try and use it to my advantage in certain places. And the balloons also give me static here as well. Mashing the A button, or whatever the equivalent is, since we use joy to key for this run. Mashing the A button for some reason makes you descend way faster, which is, as you can imagine, quite useful. So you might hear my controller go crazy as I keep mashing A here. As I start to descend, it's just way quicker for me. Could have got those silver rings. In fact, I probably should have, but didn't. So that's my own fault if I ever need them later in the run. There were some free runs right there. Okay. I just got to make sure that I'm hitting the right balloons, because there are a couple that are quite essential for me getting on the right path. Also, if you hit this wheel at the right angle, you can jump at it. You're meant to only be able to jump on that at the top, but you can jump on it at certain angles from the left and right. good programming, because this is in the Sonic Worlds engine. I'm surprised I haven't talked about that yet, which is a pretty common fan game engine for 2D stuff. In fact, probably even to this day, still the most common, despite the fact it's in Multimedia Flash 2, which is no longer supported anymore. But people still use it for some reason. Also, look at that story critical feather. It'd be a shame if I jumped over that and it remained there. Oops. Yeah, that shouldn't be a thing, but it is. Yeah, so we got some weird quirks as well with these slopes. I should be able to run up them, but I can. And weird physics will, strangely enough, come in handy a bit later on, so keep your eye on them. Well, in fact, they always do in Sonic games, but specifically in this run for a really major skip that I'm going to save explaining until it actually happens. So these blue balloons, the whole point of them is that you just slightly bounce off them with your normal jump height, and if you gain static on them, you can jump off them as if they were some of the yellow ones. Yeah, they exist. Their whole point is to make you go a slightly bit faster. That's really all I can say about them. And we're going to jump down here, and in just a moment, we should be getting the special shoes. They're almost here. If I keep bonking into walls, it'll take way longer. These are the hover boots. Now, their main gimmick is they give you a slight boost of speed in the direction you specify, or if you hold the button, they give you a large boost of speed. Now, the cons of these, in comparison, because as you can imagine, it'd be quite broken otherwise. The cons of these boots are that your speed cap's way slower, and you can't spin dash, peel out, or you can't go at max speed. So, for the most part, you're not going to see me keeping these equipped, despite how handy they might appear on paper. But specifically, I'm going to be using them throughout this section here and a couple sections later on. That was the aforementioned, I can't think what it's called now. Physics glitch. There we go. Where I get stuck against walls. It's really bad with this power up as well, which is another reason why we don't use it. You can boost into a wall, and that will pretty much kill all your momentum, and it will cause the physics glitch, and I won't be able to move. So here we are at what I consider the first proper boss, in that it can actually attack you, and you have to move in order to hit it. This is a get. I'm going to try my luck with getting some good cycles, although I'm not feeling lucky. It can either do a short lightning attack, which is what I prefer because it's way quicker, or it can do a slow ball attack, which you're about to see on the third phase here, where I have to wait it out and spin dash underneath it. But for the most part, the placement of the boss is random, so after it finishes an attack, it will randomly decide where it wants to go. It's completely random and kind of irritating, because just as I'll start getting some good hits in, it'll move, and then it'll move again. So, but it's over now, so not that matters. And now we just got to make our escape. So I'm going to hover boot to my advantage. I'm going to probably do some stuff the devs didn't intend me to do. Like this. So I should be going on some extra bounce pads that I'm not going on. I'm just skipping them to save time. Okay, it's looking good. So there's one more here, and then afterwards we'll be getting into a cutscene. So, by the way, I should say as well, shout-outs to how cutscenes work in Sonic Worlds, because I can do that. And I'm just going to keep mashing here. Uh-oh. Okay. Right, so here we are in Misty Maze. This is... my stream is buffering. Oh, joy. It should refresh itself in like 2 seconds. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. So this level is one of the worst in the game. I don't really have too much nice things to say about it. I'm going to try and go the right way. Nope. There we go. Okay, I got up onto the right path in the end. So the top path here is way faster. Like, I mean, significantly. They're back. When I get a long cutscene, I will potentially mess with the settings. But I'm glad that you can hear me again. I do have a recording that's going as well, just in case anyone needs it potentially as well, if my internet craps out, but it shouldn't do. And I went past right what I needed to go past. My boost shoes were actually too effective for once. And we will just boost the end here. This stage is like a 3 to 4 minute stage if you don't go the top path. If you do, it's like a 30-second stage, but it's super easy to fall off, so I had to be sure to be careful there. But it's over. And from my least favourite stage into my second least favourite stage. So, let's get going. This is Groove Glow Zone, and it has a lot of spikes everywhere, and when I'm using the boost shoes, it's pretty difficult to actually dodge them. So, I'm just going to have to try my luck. Also, these platforms make super annoying noises, and there's a ton of them all over the stage, and they're on timers. The fact that they're on timers used to be the most annoying part for me, but I can skip them with these shoes. Now the most annoying part is the combination of the noise and the spikes, which try and kill me at every given opportunity. So we're going to try our hardest here to mitigate all that. Let's go. Okay, this guy is not liking me. There's one set of spikes that I've got to avoid later on in particular that are just my absolute bane of my existence. That's not one of them. I could actually do with keeping some rings though. As long as I have one here. Oops. let's take one. Let's take my safety rings early, just in case. Okay, we're almost at the end though, so we should be good. Famous last words, I know, obviously, but we're going to make sure to be careful here. And if not, I do have a safe backup. And yeah, Mr. Krabs Beat Boop is the first thing I think of as well. Phew, okay, we got out of there unscathed. And yeah, that's pretty much the feeling of it. It gets a lot faster once I get the upgrades. In particular, there's one later on which will hugely benefit me. But for now, it is pretty comfy slow. That's the fun of it. It's one of those runs that builds up. I missed that. Well, I can go for the backup there. And I'll try and go for the backup here as well. Nope. This should make this one. It didn't. Right, fine. I'll take this the normal way. This guy wasn't meant to talk to me. I'm not really sure why he did. That's never happened before. Add that to the counter. And I'm just going to boost to victory here. So that's the map in the background right there, if you can see it. The weird looking, almost milk glass, but not quite thing. Yeah, you can imagine why that gets quite a pain to traverse around, especially when, oh, I need to go right here, and you go right and it sends you like north or something. It's kind of dumb. And I'm going to try for a strat here where if I let go of the D-pad, it should fling me right to the end. We'll give it a go anyway. It's very silly, but rewarding if I get it. It was close enough. It was a bit slower than I would have liked, but I'll take it. Okay. Tube Trial, we're back here again. So, this is the slowest of the Tube Trial clones, because I've got to... I don't quite understand what these are meant to be, but these glowy pads are holding us back this time. So, I've got to run super slow through these, and jump over spikes at the same time. As you can imagine, as a speed run, it's not exactly the type of stage that I'm wanting to play, but I can't root it out. You can't root it out to begin with, so let's just watch Sonic run really slow. There's a couple of these as well that I don't even think it's possible to make it through without getting hit. That's not one of them. There's one coming up in just a moment of those spike wall running section things that don't really have names. There's one of them which I don't think is even possible to do without taking damage, so we're going to purposely damage boost when that comes up, which is just about here. Should be to the left. Yep, there you are. I recognise you instantly. I was going to try and damage off him purposely, but he wouldn't let me, so... Instead, we'll take the backup, which is like a millisecond slower. Boo-hoo, right? But... Okay. Just going to make sure to build up enough speed off this jump, and we should be relatively golden. That stage was actually a lot nicer to me than it normally is, so thank you. Very blessed. I knew we were on a good pace in the marathon. Almost. It's still doing trickery. There we... Nope. I was like, yes, I finally got through that one enemy, which is always my... always the bane of my existence. Nope, didn't get through it. Screwed me yet again. Right, so this is a troll. You think you got to go all the way right? You don't. You gotta go right, go down, and then go left. And then we've got to do the actual stage here, which is going all the way left. That one always gets me. I always used to get lost on the first maybe 100 or so runs of this game I did. Only after that did I learn the true route for this stage. It used to be the proper run killer when I got lost here for like 10 minutes, but we're out of those days now. Things are better. So I got a feel around here in the snow for a red spring. There's 2 of them in particular, and the snow makes me go really slow. So it's pretty easy to miss it. Or if I don't, I hit the red spring, but I hit it with so much momentum that I overshoot my mark. So I've got to be super aware, on guard, etc. I actually got that one thanks to the strat I have. Just immediately spin dash and then jump, and you should hit it most times. I'm gonna purposely damage boost off some of these springs because it's a bit quicker. And this one's almost over, thankfully. And yeah, lots of FF music, lots of Kingdom Hearts, and later on, when things start to tense up, we got lots of stuff like Ace Combat as well. Really great combination of tunes throughout. And speaking of random, here's a song from Shadow the Hedgehog for no real reason. It's kind of fitting, I guess, but at the same time not. So we're gonna have some green orbs here, and the green orbs propel us upwards. You have to hit them at certain angles. If you don't get the height. You'll see them in just a moment, but there is a way to cheese them. I can cheese them with the hover boots. A lot of stuff in this game was designed around the hover boots, but there was also a lot of stuff where Lake Peppered went, hang on a second, I forgot you have the hover boots. Right, that's going to probably break this. At no point did he think that for a lot of these sections. So we're gonna see that coming up. If I can not suck. There we go. Right, conserve one ring. That will do for me. Because there's not too many enemies after this point. So these right here, those green pads are the ones that I'm going to be trying my best to manipulate here. Is this a pretty difficult Sonic fan game? That is a good question. Not really, it's just time consuming. In terms of run it can be. There's a couple of strats here which require a bit of learning, but the route is nowhere near as difficult as it used to be. But if you could beat it in a casual playthrough, yes, 100%. Considering some of the stuff we've had in this marathon so far. Definitely this is on the easier side of things, by far. It's pretty manageable. So I've got to hit some of these from like the top left in order to stand a chance, but some of them I can just hit from any angle and it will let me through. But overall this has been pretty nice, actually. Yeah, that's pretty good blue base. I can't complain of that. Does this engine have spike glitch? Yes, kind of. I think you have to patch it out for your own games, which I think this game does, but not all games do. Right, so I could take the taxi here, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to go to the area you saw at the beginning of the game. This is Sky Speedway, and here we're going to meet up with some friends. Well, actually, we're going to go to the staff area first, right? So we're going to break into the Sky Empire in the past. So I need to spin dash, and then I need to switch to my hover boots. Come on. No, you're not being nice to me. Okay, sure. It depends how much height I get off the hover boots sometimes. So the game can decide whether it wants to screw me over or not. And today it said yeah. So here we go. We're going to meet with our friends. It's going to run off. And we can spin dash to victory. So I'm going to go for a jump here because there's a super big slope. And I can do a really big jump. And I kind of missed the landing, but the landing was good enough for me. It was better than doing it the intended way, so that's what I'll take in my speedruns. And now we just got to hover all the way down. And we can go to another awful stage. Here's Silicon Support. This one, once again, very heavily timing based. I can skip a lot of it, but it's just slow, and there's actually 2 gimmicks around here. We'll be seeing the second one in just a moment. But the second gimmick is time-consuming, even more so than standing around waiting for platforms, but luckily I can dodge most of the platforms, so the second one is really the one I've got to look out for. Come on, could you be nice? Nope, you couldn't. Right, fine. I'm trying to charge it for long enough, but this game is very weird with... Oh, it's very selective of its charges more, so you have to be holding for a specific amount of time before it says, okay, I'm going to give you the long boost rather than the short one. So this is the gimmick of the stage. There is an on-screen HUD, and we have to match up the lights on screen with the little glowing orbs. It's not all that bad, but it's about to be cranked into overdrive in the next stage. So I guess I should appreciate it while it lasts more than anything, but you can't clear each section until you successfully get rid of the HUD on screen. So I'm going to have to fumble around and try and do that each time. I think there's about 7 in the stage in total, or 7 mandatory ones. I think there's a couple you can skip, which we go out of our way to do. And there should be one. Nope. I thought there was one down there. It's not. I'm getting it confused with a later one. So there should be a couple more, and we should be golden. In particular, most of them are towards the end of the stage, though, so we got some comfy time here with this song. I have no clue where this comes from. This is one of the ones that I never bothered to investigate. One there. There's going to be one over here. Nice. Okay, so let's use my boots to my advantage. I have them, so I might as well use them for unintended purposes. I don't know if this was intentional or not. I can't presume it was. These were designed for me to wait. I can't imagine Dev remembered that I had the ability to skip them, so I'll abuse that all I like. Okay, good. We've got to get through this really slow corridor. And I barely missed the red one on top here. That's supposed to be the easiest one, and I flubbed it. Oh well. So I'm also going to down boost in some areas. You never really want to down boost, except if you're... This game has a habit of putting a lot of red springs, and red springs are the ones that launch you super high. Also, this boss sucks, so I'm about to make a save point. So this boss fight is one of my least favourite. It's the first one that I consider a proper threat, not just because it can attack me, but it actually has elements of difficulty. This is one casual players can play like get stuck on a hell of a lot. So I'm going to luckily use the strat which Burns taught me. Shout out to Burnsies, who's the second most prevalent runner of this game. He pointed out to me that actually you can just use the hover boots and it makes this fight about 10 times easier. Something that I had never noticed before. Because otherwise you'd have to jump at really specific angles in order to hit some of these. Whereas with the hover boots, you can just kind of chill. I like that. I don't have to worry about getting hit by a lot of these lasers consistently every time without fail. This is one of those bosses that is really in need of a bit of optimization though, because we kind of just wing it. And winging it has worked very well for us for the longest of times, but it has the potential to be a fun, quick boss. Unlike the casual playthrough where it's like an hour of your time that you're going to be sinking into it. Because it just kills you repeatedly. The game doesn't give you enough rings to this point, and it doesn't really teach you a lot of the abilities that you need to effectively play this boss. I'm going to be patient there. That worked in my favour. I thought that was the end as well, so I got a little bit cocky and started charging up my final boost there. Right. And that should be the end. Right? Yes. Okay, we're out. So, that boss fight is very forgiving to me normally, as long as I use my hover boots. It's pretty nice, but that's casually and for the beginners a point of contention, but that's how you cheese it. Speaking of cheesing it, we're about to come up to a complete level skip again. But first of all, we've got just a section where we kind of run around the Sky Empire. There's not too much to this one. It's just quickly waltzing around, talking to Jerem occasionally. Not too much more to it than that. Occasionally Rodalia pipes in, but It's mostly just run straight towards the right. There's also a shop here if I have any monies, which I haven't been bothering to collect because I skipped all of the mandatory money points. So outside of that, we just need to run to the end here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my hover boots. Once again, it always comes down to the hover boots. I'm going to fully charge a hover to the right. And then once the screen transitions, I will let go of my A button, which should be the X button. I accidentally clipped back in. I'm very good. I'm going to reset there, actually. Because it's way quicker to do that than it is to play the stage. That zipped me into the part of the wall which I really don't want to be in. So I'm just going to go back to the start. Because that's like a 5-minute stage, whereas this is like a 20-second run-up. So it makes more sense for me to just go back and try it again. It's normally a pretty free trick, though. I was just standing in the completely wrong spot. So we're going to give this a second shot here. There we go. So now I just need to hover all the way to the left. I'm not going to get too close to the wall because that's what pushed me out last time. So if I can clip into the wall accidentally at the start of the level, that then lets me clip all the way to the left, and then the hitbox of the platform can push me all the way to the right to the end of the level. It's a shame because casually that is always my favourite level. It's a really trippy, weird dream sequence where all the characters repeat themselves and they stumble over themselves a lot, and it's just a very strange dream sequence which I greatly miss in the speedrun, but at the same time the skip is so fun. I just bonk off an elevator and that's it. This is the longest cutscene in the game. It's like 1.5 minutes of pure mashing for me. I have a pretty good mashing strat for these cutscenes because there is a way to optimally do it. It's not particularly interesting, but I got some downtime here, so I might as well explain it. So I rest both my left and right hand over the A button, which I have mapped on joy to key. And the second one, let's go, I mash with the other. That generally mashes the text box over as soon as it's done. But generally there's not a lot of long sustained mashing sections in this game, so actually the text isn't too much of a hassle. It's not going to be like too straining on people who can't mash at all. It's pretty lenient. Still going here. It's only like halfway through at the moment. So we just got deported, and that is the way the game describes it as well, by the way. That's not my wording. We're also in prison, and we're going to break out of prison, and it's one of the worst high security prisons I think in any game I've ever seen. All it takes is a single sword slash, this really thick wall, and it's open. It's very silly. So this character here, Jerem, fun little factoid about him. So anyone who knows about Lake Fepard as a developer might be familiar with the indie game Spark the Electric Jester, which came out in the year 2017. This game actually has a lot more in common with Spark than one might think, because it's built on top of this game's source code. So much so even that Jerem is the base character for Spark. So Spark in the original indie game is based on a character from a Fangame. It's very strange, like all his movement properties are the exact same, and we kind of don't really know why he did this. And exactly, what kind of jail doesn't confiscate weapons? This is key, and I just realised that is not the way I want to go. I want to go all the way to the left here again. And that should be it. Yes, and now I need to switch back to Sonic. But, so yeah, overall, this stage is pretty self-explanatory. Just get 2 switches. Once I get 2 switches, I can break out. I don't know why these are in plain reach, but they are. So all I've got to do is spin dash to this one, and we're out. What a simple jailbreak. And we just got to go to the right here, and we're out, and then we're going to have a boss fight. So the game goes dead silent. It's like, hang on a second, why have you broken out of this jail? I'm not. Oh, I don't know. Plot, not this game's strong point. Platforming, definitely it, and I just missed the save, but it's not like it matters because this boss is pretty pathetic. So he has 3 total phases that I need to do. They're all just as easy as each other. He's going to drop bombs on me. I'm going to need to hit him 5 times per phase, and then I need to hit him once on the 3rd phase. If I do it right, I should do this boss optimally. There's really not too many ways to not, because it's very heavily cycle-based. And even if I miss it, it's only like 0.01 seconds lost if I have to take a second hit on the third phase. When these planes come, I've got to jump out of the way of this bottom one. This is the exact same as phase 1. He just drops the bombs in the same place, nothing changes, and then I jump into him and I win. And now this time EGAT starts dropping stuff on me, but it's still dead easy to avoid. Then he comes along with his bombs again, and we're game. So after that, we're about to get dropped into the stage where we're going to be getting our 4th power-up finally. We went on a bit of a story detour, but we'll be back where we belong. And yeah, this stream's awesome, as everyone has rightfully pointed out. And painfully long time travel sequence. Come on, you can fall a bit quicker than that, considering we just got shot out the sky. So we're here in Magnetic Mine Zone, and the gimmick of this stage is that the faster you run, the higher you jump. So I'm going to try and go really fast here. So the physics glitch likes to get in my way a lot, so you're not going to see me spin dash at all here. You're going to see me exclusively peel out. But the momentum's kind of bugged in that I can peel out and jump straight into a wall, and it will carry my momentum, and actually it will add to it. So you're just going to see me jumping into a lot of walls at points, which the game doesn't intend me to do. But hey, it's quick, so you know, what can you do, right? That's not the way I meant to do that, otherwise this has been pretty good so far. And jump there. This stage used to be one of the most dreaded ones just because there's a lot of weird gravity going on here, and gravity is not this engine's strong point. But overall, it's actually pretty easy now that we have strats for it. I messed that up because I need to get onto this ledge here and do a peel out. There we go. That gives me enough height to clear that without having to do it the intended way. Okay, and we're pretty much at the end now, so we should be getting the boost shoes in just a second. Thank you. I didn't think I was going to have enough height there. There we go. So just go all the way to the left here, and that gives us access to the forbidden fruit. Now, you'd think that because a boost to win is OP, that these shoes would be really good. They're not. They're actually pretty bad. You might notice if you look in the bottom left corner at my boost gauge, they charge really slowly. And if I mess up a single boost, then I got to wait for like 20 seconds for it to recharge. So I'm playing this quite patient here. It might look like I'm just standing around waiting. It's because if I don't, I won't have enough boost to clear it, and I'll have to wait for even longer. So I've got to be careful with how I conserve it. But luckily, I only really need it for these next 2 stages. That's the only ones where it's mandatory. And then after that, I can go back to not using it like I used to. The whole point of these shoes is, like a lot of other power-ups in the game, you're meant to collect like mini power-ups which increase the EXP of them, or EXP ups. There we go. That's how I should have explained it. But you have to get a certain amount of EXP ups, and then that increases your abilities. So, for example, I'll be able to boost for longer. I'll be able to use the high jump shoes for longer, that sort of thing. We don't go out of the way to get them because this power-up is used so little in the run that it's just slow if we went out of our way to go and get these EXP ups. So for the most part, it's just ignored. I don't think I have enough to clear this. Yep. And you're going to see me stand around and wait until I have enough boost now. Yep, that's why you conserve to the best of your ability. Because that could have got a lot worse if I was in the previous stage. There's a lot more waiting in there. I'm actually going to save some here as well by just skipping out on that left one. I'm going to avoid as many of these weird pimple things as possible. Just because the more of them I hit, the more of boost I lose. Therefore, the more time I theoretically lose. But we're out of here now. There might be one more, but that's about it. That's the only song as well that appears in both Before the Sequel Aftermath and Chrono Adventure, which are 2 of the same game. Fun fact about this stage: this was the worst. This was the real worst in the run. If you're a fan of Wind Waker HD speedruns, you might be familiar with a trick called zombie hovering. Yeah, this game has it too. It's really bad. There were 2 sections in the run where you could zombie hover, and it's so slow to the point where it's actually quicker to play an entire boss fight than it is to play that stage with zombie hovering. But that was still quicker than the other alternative, which was play it casually. So what I'm going to do here is use the boost shoes in an unintended way. I'm going to scale these hexagons here on this ceiling, and I'm going to get to a section which I'm otherwise not meant to get to at this point in the game, and we're going to sequence break. This route was only discovered a couple months ago. It's known as the Afterburner route for obvious reasons, which you'll hear in a second. But it skips going through 1 or 2 levels in exchange for doing a pretty quick boss fight, or at least pretty quick when you do the strats for it. I need to go right here. I was desperately trying to remember which way I need to go. Right, I need to be extra careful because there is a possibility that I can miss that. I didn't miss it. Cool. So you're gonna see a fun glitch here. It happens as a result of me entering the cutscene too early. So I've entered the cutscene to go to the Afterburner boss here. And now you're gonna see Invisible Sonic. Because the cutscene model has left to go to the cutscene, but the actual physics of Sonic haven't left, so he just kind of stands there with no body. And yeah, this is why it's called the Afterburner boss, because it's got the Sour Please music. So this first phase here, I've just got to hit this guy as many times as is needed of me. I'm going to manipulate his patterns slightly by making him fly, just so I can spam his backside there. I do that by getting hit on the second phase. But he only has like 4 phases, and I can pretty easily defeat him quite quickly, thanks to that. Thanks to the fact that I've used his manipulation there. Fun fact, it is faster to fly in this game on these jets while spamming up and down. So hold right and spam up and down is significantly quicker than just standing still. Not sure why it works like that, but it does. It's quicker here to get up to the lump on his forehead, not really sure what it is, versus standing quite a bit away from it. It makes it difficult to dodge these energy beams here, but the bullets have less time to travel, therefore it's quicker, and you just spam the A button and you win. And this takes us immediately to right outside Old Castle, which is conveniently right where we need to go for the final story trigger of the game. So we're almost at the penultimate end already. The end game of this game is quite long, but we've done everything we theoretically now need to do to trigger end game. So we're about to enter it. We just have to get one more power-up, which is in the stage to the right here. And trust me, I was a bit disappointed with the boost shoes. I will not be disappointed with the power-up that is to come. So this song's awesome, by the way. This is another Sour Please. But this stage, the fruits are worth it, but the stage itself isn't. The platforming here is awkward. Also, I finally have the opportunity to get rings, so I am going to take some safety rings because I got enough silver ones. So I got to jump off these large bumpers at specific angles. Each different colour has different properties. On top of that, I also have to avoid the weirdly shaped platforms, which, as you can see, have collision set up properly. So in the parts where they curve, you know, they don't have invisible walls around the parts where they curve like other Sonic games would, if that makes any sort of sense. Instead, every part that you can see of these platforms is modelled. So I'm at the mercy of some of the strange shapes here. It's quite difficult to traverse, actually. And I think I need to go down here, right? If you could let me, that'd be nice. Yes, I do need to go down here, thank you. And some of these bumpers as well, it's super easy to run into them accidentally. Even if you run into them as normal Sonic, not in your ball form, when you're jumping, it still triggers them, and you just get bounced all over the place like I am here. That sucks. It loses time. But there is nothing I can physically do about it. But the collision is thankfully quite good on all of these bumpers, so that's not the collision I've got to worry about. It's just the rest of this stage. And I've got to jump carefully between these two, but we're almost there. We are almost at the POG. The ultimate power-up, the 1, 2, and all Metroidvania power-ups. Here are the bumper gloves. Now, there's an argument to be had in speedrunning about patches, and quite often patches are the bane of speedrunners' lives. Here on Sonic Chrono Adventure, we love patches, because not only does it get rid of a bunch of soft locks, I should say as well, we're running on version 1.1. Not only does 1.1 get rid of a bunch of soft locks, but it also has the benefit of giving us a double jump with these gloves, because otherwise they don't have much purpose. So Lake said, yeah, let's give the player a double jump if they use the bumper gloves. So that's exactly what we got. They could break through all the stuff that otherwise you would be able to with your punch, this little punch here. I'd be able to break through everything with those normally, but now I can do it with a double jump. Now, we're about to see why perhaps adding this in version 1.1 might not have been a very good idea. Spoilers, it wasn't very well play-tested. But as a result, version 1.1 is actually the more broken version of the game, which is very rare. Speedrunners always love their version 1.0s and not patching that sort of thing, but here, very much the opposite. Patch is the way to go. It's barely runnable on version 1.0. So we're going to try and get to the section where I can prove just how bad this is. There's not much I can do right here now, though, because this section is slow as anything. We're just trying to backtrack to the beginning of the stage so we can go back the way we came. And then afterwards, we can trigger endgame. And I think that's all I need to do. That should just take me straight back to the beginning now. These platforms are the bane of my existence. Just why? I don't get why it had to be so angular as well. It doesn't strike me as fit. Oh, we got to do it to be thematically appropriate to these gloves. This doesn't strike me as being thematically appropriate in any way. Because I think this is meant to be a sequel to a level in After the Sequel, very possibly. Can't remember what that one was called off the top of my head, but I used the same music, I remember for a fact. But I don't know, it's just significantly more irritating than it was there. Right, there we go. Save point. We're definitely gonna. Why does this gameplay feel slow, not fast? Because it's Metroidvania. There we go. But you're about to see how fast it can become in just a moment. Come on. There we go. So, in Lake's infinite wisdom in adding this double jump, he actually forgot to put a speed cap on the gloves. I mean, you just gotta sigh sometimes. But it's good for us in a speedrun and in a Sonic game because it means we can just zip all over the place. And certain sections, like the next level, are not intended for this at all. They're not. It's not even intended for you to have the high jump shoes, which already break this level somewhat, but especially these gloves. You'll see in a second. It's things are about to get hairy, but in a good way. Also, yeah, you get a stupidly high jump off the second jump with these moving floors, which I talked about earlier when we were here just a moment ago, which give you a slightly higher jump. Your first jump is already very high with these. The second one is even worse. It's thankfully once again plays to our advantage, but it's a pain to control when you're doing the casual playthrough of this game. But we're not, so not all that fussed. Also, the only negative of these gloves, and the only reason you don't keep them equipped at all times, is they don't have a spin dash. Technically, they do have a speed cap as well, which is why you want to keep them equipped, but we've already established that the speed cap is kaput. I'm just not going to transform back here. You're really not being nice to me, game. There we go. So that wasn't as fast as it could have been, but it was still way better than doing it how we did it the first time. Now, I luckily don't have to square off with Wild Winter a third time. I can just come straight here to this taxi, and we're about to witness something known as the Polem skip. Now, Polem is this really strange Fangamey power-up, which turns you into... I don't know if you've seen these black enemies with the huge white teeth throughout the game. It turns you into one of them, but Sonic, and you run really fast, faster than normal Sonic. You jump up walls, and you spit fireballs at people. It's very strange in Sonic Fangamey. I shouldn't lump all Fangames in with this. We don't like it, so we just get rid of it. The irony is that the whole gimmick of Polem is that you run up these hexagonal walls. Now, how we're going to skip it is we're going to run up these hexagonal walls using this game's bugged physics. Thank you, Sonic Worlds engine. You've been really helpful to me. And now I'm going to charge up, if I could actually remember my muscle memory, I'm going to charge up a hover shoe all the way to the right. I'm going to charge one up so it clears an invisible wall. And that's all I need to do. I just need to run to the right now, and I'm in endgame. There's a wall that opens up once you finish Polem. However, I skipped the wall that opens up after you finish Polem with a weird physics glitch. So we're just gonna skip right past all the weird Fangame stuff and get into the bits that really matter, which is having fun with my good old bumper gloves. And these last few stages here give me a good example of my speed is key. And it's about to be, but they do try and stop me from going fast at various points with these walls that are all in the way, and I'm bonking on stuff all over the place, as mentioned in chat. That's just a common theme of this game, unfortunately. But once again, on the subject of bumper gloves, because of the weird speed cap thing, these flame power-ups that I'm collecting send me way faster and way farther than I normally would, and we're about to see some water ones later on that make me jump way higher. Now, you'd think that given you should, in theory, with higher speed and a higher jump arc and a further jump, you would think that this would be somehow harder to control. It's not. These sections are made really tight on purpose so that you deliberately lose a ton of rings. With your higher jump arc and better speed and all that, it's actually easier to clear these sections than it otherwise would be. So once again, an example of the skewed difficulty on display from Sonic Chrono Adventure, and its weird fascination with the Sonic Worlds engine. But this stage is all about those flame shields and just using them to my advantage, running all the way to the right and winning. But later on, we're going to see there's 4 endgame stages, and we're going to see a combination of power-ups throughout, and this one's my favourite. It might be one of my favourites in the game, in fact, in terms of the speed run, because it's just so fast and flashy, and if I don't keep bonking on these walls, I'll be able to properly showcase that to you. And it's just an example of how different this route is to the beaten path that you're intended to do, and how fast I just can go in general. So I'm gonna try hard for a bit and see if I can get some of these the fast ways. But these giant suns here, I just got to weave in between them. As long as I can do that. There's not too much more difficulty to this section. It's just the other two that I've really got to watch out for. And there goes all my speed. I can build it back up by rolling down these hills though. Right, that's the only semi-difficult one. I've just got to time that one. The rest of these are pretty simple. There's not a whole lot to them. Just jump as soon as you get the flame orbs and you're golden. Okay, that should be section 2. That was pretty nice to me, but then the second missile screwed me over, so for a while RNG is on my side. Let me down there though. Right, round 3 with the core, and round 3's where the difficulty starts ramping up. In particular, there is a lot of spikes here, and some enemies that shoot lasers at me throughout that will try and screw me. By the way, as well, shouts to my stream and Spanish Guitar, 10th Spanish Guitar. I think some of you are in here, but you're not saying it yet, so step up your game. The 10th Spanish Guitar music intensifies. This one, the screen goes all dark, or the background goes all dark. So that's how you know things are tense. We gotta mix the elements here. The fire shields and the water shields. We gotta do some element bending, etc. If you collect both of them, it gives you an ultra high jump, which allows you to rise to the top of the ceiling, and victory is yours. I'm just going to roll here. Okay, I didn't think I'd make that. And a lot of this is weaving in between spikes, but just this time with the water power up instead. And that wasn't too nice to me. I'm going to try this again. I know why, because I need to hit both of them. Oops. I'm thinking this is a later section of the stage where I don't have to do that. These 2 purple flames, one out of their forehead, one out of their crotch. They're the worst enemies here. They just catch you off guard all the time. I'm surprised that didn't hit me. He had all the troll face signs on him and he didn't do it, so thank you for that. Very blessed. Just gonna use these red springs here. Okay. In particular though, this stage isn't the one I'm dreading as much as stage 4. Stage 4 has some potential instant death stuff, but I have my backup rings. So as long as I have my backup rings, then I'm Gucci. So that's all I was really dreading. Because I already used them very early on in the run, but I did manage to accumulate enough silver rings just through messing about in stages that I could get a second backup pair for this specific area. Okay, that is round 3 done. On to round 4. Which is just that, but with way more underwater sections. And underwater in this game, you haven't seen much of it, because I've tried to avoid all the stages that have it. We've only seen like 2/3 of the stage selection in this game, by the way. But I've avoided all the ones that have water in on purpose, because it's really slow. But you're getting an example of Sonic's movement speed being drastically decreased here. I can't really use my bumper gloves that much because I'm just going to flail all over the place otherwise. But there are a couple sections where I will use them here. And it's much faster than using these water power-ups because they make you ascend really fast. But they can also be slow in other areas. It just depends on how likely physics are to not bug you that day. Also, I do kind of have to worry about water. My drowning meter. Because drowning meters are a thing in this game. I'd never personally come into contact with them because, once again, avoid all the water levels. And this level, you're in the water for such a short amount of time that you never really have to stop to gasp for air like you do in a lot of Sonic games. But it's something to keep an eye on anyway, because if there's something that can go wrong in a marathon run, I'm sure I'll find a way to do it normally, 9 times out of 10. The game has been pretty nice to me so far. It's allowed me to do a pretty good showcase. This section here without the bumper gloves is just pure hell, but thankfully they give me an extra safety third jump if I need it. That didn't let me up. You shall let me up. Yes, you shall. Perfect. Although it isn't looking to be too kind to me here. Nope, I'm going to have to do this the intended way. Rats. Well, I was trying to be crafty and save time, and look, it was the fall out of it. Never seen that happen before. That weird animation glitch. Sure. At this point, I'm just down. Speaking of which, I messed that up quite badly. So I can do the backup there. Totally intentional, just so you know. Yep. 100% parkouring off these weird hexagonal ceilings. I'm sure, very much so. That's pretty much it to this section. There's one more weird spike jump underwater in just a second. Once again, alleviated thanks to these gloves. Weird double jump hitbox. It's just coming up now. Actually, no, it's coming up. Yeah, no, it is now. What am I talking about? See, look at how much height I got to clear that. Normally, I'd barely clear that, so I'd have to time it really carefully. And the rest of it now is just making my great escape. There we go. And I did kind of lie by saying there was only 4 sections of endgame, because that's what the game wants me to think. There's truthfully 6. We're on the 5th one here, and if you want an example of just how fast my top speed actually can go, here it is. Yeah, I should have done that much slower, to the point where the in-engine cutscene in the background didn't quite know how to keep up with me, so he spawned much quicker than he should have done. This character right here, I think you learn how to become him when you go to the Polum section, which we just skipped. This is Metronic. Fun factoid about him, Metronic was the original name for this game before it got renamed because of the time travel stuff. It was originally called Metronic, which made much more sense to me. But hey, Chrono Adventure, Sonic Chrono Trigger, Chrono Adventure, yeah, sure, whatever. You might see me doing some ground dashes here. It's the precursor to the drop dashes. This one completely failed on me, but 99.9% of the time, if you do a bunch of drop dashes against the ground, it speeds you up. I got a shield at specific times in order to not get hit by the lasers here, and the lasers actually break the platforms, but I got to use audio cues to do this, which is why practicing this game can be hell if I want to not listen to the game audio. I've got to turn it back on for this stage because there is no visual cue for when the lasers will fire except for muscle memory, and 9 times out of 10 when I'm practicing I miss it. And yeah, I don't quite know the meaning behind this boss. It's like Dark Supersonic from Sonic X, but with a scarf. I mean, it looks kind of goofy. In fact, it doesn't look kinda, it is goofy. But it's a fan game. I can't complain too much. It's just the kind of things that happen in the Sonic fan game community. I barely got that. Also, you might have just seen me run through some spikes a second ago. I forgot to mention it. You can run through certain spikes in the stage. It's not intentional. They forgot to program collision for them. And I'm going to roll down this hill. We have a theory that it might be faster to damage boost through this section and just play as normal Sonic 99.9% of the time. Except for the specific sections where you need to use Metronic. But I've never really tested this. It's just much safer to not die and just play as Metronic instead, who's already pretty fast. So generally, I don't risk it. But you will see times where I will, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, take damage, and I'll switch back to normal Sonic. It's just how the stage works. And I'm still doing the element bending from the previous stages. I need to stop. There we go. The drop dashing is faster on slopes mainly, but you can build up quite good speed on flat surfaces as well if you do it for long enough. Same with his weird thing here that I'm doing. I don't quite know what it is. I just needed to check I was going the right way then. I wasn't feeling confident on that. Because there's some that you have to go left to right on in Endgame. But he also has a pointy finger gun thing that if you do that gives you a ton of speed off the ground. I got good timing on that. I didn't expect to make it through. There's fast strats with these platforms, so there's lasers and you have to shield for the lasers, and then you have to wait, and then if you wait patiently, you'll get dropped onto this platform that will let you through. It's kind of hard to explain. You're just going to have to see it throughout this version of the stage. And trust me, people, because I don't know how to describe some of the concepts of this game. They're wild and ridiculous. But there is like a couple of frames that I can jump through them. These ones here, there's a couple of frames I can jump through them without having to do any of that. I didn't get that. It's also way faster to do it as normal Sonic, because I don't have to wait for the animation to end. This is going to try and... Okay, sure. I mean, I didn't think that would work, but apparently the animation of picking up Metronic cancelled out the animation of me taking damage, so I didn't take any. I'm quite happy with that. I'll be patient here, and then take the springs once I've taken my damage. Alright, this is going pretty swimmingly so far, this section. I don't have much to complain about, but there are some instant death lasers in a second, so maybe I should hold my breath until they come. Okay, so these lasers right here, the ones that the water balloons right next to, some of these can instant kill you. I'm not really sure why, but they can, so I'm going to take my time here and make sure I don't throw away my run. Most of the time they don't, but I think there's a glitch where they can. I'm not really sure what causes it. I never ran into it casually, but speedrunning wise, it's happened to me a few times. I'm not sure if it's like where I was low on rings or something, or what happened. But I'm going to take this shortcut here, and also get some silver rings. Not that it's going to be useful, because we're at the end of the game now, but it's a thought that counts, right? I'm almost at the end. I'm going to try and see if I can... Nah. I was going to see if I could sprint for it and hit the button, but I couldn't. So there we go, we're out. That is end game done. It's still not the game done though. We are slowly approaching the final boss. We have one more level left to go. But we still have to go through Speedway before we can do that. So we're going to spring all the way back up, and then bonk our heads on the ceiling and try again. Intentional. I meant to do that. And Redalia, Navi, is telling us, hey, it's the end of the game. You should actually go and do the end game stuff now. And okay, I will. Even though I just triggered it all, but... We're going to bump Glove to the end one more time, and this stage is where they truly spread their wings coming up, because they're super useful. Also, I didn't mean to do that, but you know what? I'm fine with it. Also, I didn't know you could do that. Okay, sure. You can now fly through platforms. Thanks, Sonic Worlds. Very cool. Right, so one final stage over here. And it's... Well, we're in the entrance. We've still got to get to it, first of all. But it is rather graciously known. I missed that, but sure. It's rather graciously known as Dark City Zone. Why? Because it's dark and it's a city. One final gimmick stage for us as well. The gimmick here is that we have rotating platforms, and they have proper properties. So we're going to have some real cylinders in a second. Also some real spheres. and some real squares. And the whole point is they have realistic physics. It's actually quite fun. You would think this stage would be hell from the perspective of a game with somewhat wonky physics. I'm just going to spin dash up here. But it's not. You can land... But generally, they're actually quite nice. You can land quite leniently on some of these. The hitboxes are pretty lenient with where you can land on them. But they're also quite accurate, so I don't have much to complain about. But there's a multitude of paths as well, once again. A good staple of a good Sonic stage, so I can fall down and fall back up onto paths as I choose, and it won't actually impact my time that much. These spheres are pretty easy to keep rotation on. It's just jumping from one to the other. I normally have to let go of the D-pad, and that gives me just enough momentum to clear a lot of them. You can barely get enough height to land on these squares from the ground. And yeah, the weird trippy overlay as well is another favourite of mine. There's a couple of these where, because I have the double jump, I can do stuff that I'm not intended to do. That wasn't one of them. I also fell back onto a low path, but it's fine because I can do some trickery to get back up. Didn't mean to do that either, so I've fallen even lower. You know what, let's just ignore what I just said. This path is actually pretty quick though. The bottom path is about as quick as the top one, so actually I'm in a pretty good situation here. There's a couple of spikes here where I can hit them and not take damage. Don't know why. I was trying to aim for it, but I missed it, so I'll just take the L on this one. But actually, it is quite ideal that I take damage here, because there is a damage abuse strat I need to do in the final boss, so I'm actually going to take some intentional damage here. Yeah, these are the ones I'm talking about. There's also some here. But I do need to take some damage ahead of the final boss, so I'm going to do just that. But we're probably about like 3-4 minutes away from time, so if anyone is there, I'd recommend being on guard. It depends on how well it goes for me, actually, because the final boss could really have me for breakfast or dinner, any or. It's just not particularly forgiving if I mess up the strat, so I've got to be extra careful. We're at the end here now, minus 1 or 2 more. That's fine, because once again, don't need rings. And we're at the end, so we are just approaching the final boss lobby. Once again, this game has a huge obsession with red springs that send you way higher than you need to. This is going to put me slightly over, isn't it? I'm going to be careful on these springs and try and not collect rings. That rhymed accidentally. Okay, that's good. I need less than 10 in order to get first cycle, so that's actually perfect. So I can abuse the bumper gloves once again to hit this boss more times than is intentional, so I can finish him off in one phase if I wanted to, but I actually finish him off in 2 just because I want to have 0 rings when I go into the true final boss. That wasn't what I intended to do, but sure. Okay, right. I mean, you can do that if you want to, but... Okay, I've never seen that happen before. I must have taken damage on the frame that I cleared him. Is this game going to be nice to me? It's not. It's actually going to be really unkind to me. That is why I have a long estimate. God damn it. Right, let's piece our way through this again. The funny thing is, there was a save point that I should have taken. Oh well. You learn from these things. You don't know, however, you have to watch me suffer through them, so haha. Oh, okay, I'm going to take the... I can hit Dark Super Sonic here. Not Dark Super, he's Metronic. Definitely. Never confuse him with Dark Supersonic. What happened? I took damage on the frame that he died. And normally that should lock me out of dying, but it didn't. Because I did it the frame before, seemingly. So, woe is me. And I forgot to save. So, I mean, that boss is always pretty free, which is why I don't go for safety save. But, I mean, I did say anything that can go wrong will go wrong, so... I did really bring this upon myself. Exactly, Giga Eggman. Giga Eggman is kind of appropriate because that phase did look a little bit like Giga Pudding. That's the first thing I think of when I think of that boss, because otherwise I'm like, what the hell else does that look like? Like a cylinder, I guess? Are you gonna... No, you're gonna screw me over there as well. Long estimates, Abe. Right. I'm just getting punished now for being bad at video games. Alright, if you could give me rings soonish, that'd be extra cool. No. You're doing the same thing you did to me there as well. Damn, I threw this away. This was on super good pace as well, according to my end. Oh well. We got time, I think. Hopefully not. Hopefully this is not like 2 hours in already, and I've ruined schedule. We'll find that out though. What happens, happens. Right. I lost my Metronic way earlier than I would have liked to, which means I can't really damage boost through there like I would have wanted to. I am, however, going to take this shortcut here, which I normally wouldn't go for, because I can. Why not show off some alternate routes, I guess? No. You're being extra meanie. But I did still have iframes there, so thank you, game. Very blessed. Should be able to piece through this again. Fingers crossed anyway. I might have just jinxed myself though. Right. I'm actually getting pretty good damage avoidance frames as well. I'm shielding at the optimal times, which would have been nice if I could have done that earlier. Okay. Not too much more to this stage now because we're back at the instant kill spikes. Come on. Thanks. Right, be nice to me this lot, because this lot has a very unlenient timer. Indeed, he do go vroom. I could show him going vroom more, but I'm choosing not to because I don't want to take unintentional damage right here when I'm lowering rings. Yeah, let's see if I can do some. Nah, game said no. To be fair, that actually might be worth looking into now that I think about it. That back boost strat, that could be our backdash in this game. Right, let's not be a filthy casual this time. Let's just take the save. And let's not bonk on the ceiling. Let's make up that mistake as well. Luckily that wasn't too bad, that section. It actually saves quite far into it, so I don't know. It still would have been nice to not have to do it though, don't get me wrong. But there is that part of it as well. Alright, I got enough height to jump over it completely. There we go. Cool, all I gotta do is get back into Dark City and then we can be done with this. I can have my round 2 with Eggman and I can have my phase 2. And then I can declare sweet revenge. So there is also an element to this stage of platform cycles as well, like there is in quite a few stages, but there's so many pathways that if I miss one platform cycle in practice, I could just fall down to another and get one that is still on cycle. But I don't know, I'm not got too many opportunities to do that in this part of the stage. Later on, definitely I could do. But the cycles are so quick anyway that it's actually not that bad to just sit there and wait for them. These spheres especially, with your double jump, they're much quicker than they look. Come on. Clip me on top! No! Fine. I would have got that cycle had it not done some weird vrooming on the edge where I accidentally skirted off the left-hand side. Alright, fell back onto this path, that's fine. Gonna fall back onto the bottom path, that is also fine. This bottom path is actually pretty quick here. I mean, sure, I just wish that had carried me all the way, but I wouldn't have minded if it hadn't. No, we're just going to play the safe at this point. I'm not going to go for damage strats, I'm just going to play the boss. Ideally, having 0 rings going into the second boss is nice, but at the same time, he's being a bit of a dick. So, we got to play this somewhat smart, I guess. Somewhat smart so I can actually get back on estimate. Alright, there we go. We're done. We're escaping. And we're back out. Okay. Alright. Actually, no, I don't need to avoid rings here, because that will give me a maximum of 9, which will then let me do it again if I want to. I'll take a maximum of 1 just to be super safe. Still well within estimate. Wow, okay. I'm very shocked by that. Although, to be fair, this hasn't gone awfully. Right, there we go. So this is going to take me to Phase 2. Phase 2 is a massive sour please, but one thing is we have to wait for the intro of the song before I can actually fight the boss. So there is a damage strat coming up on this boss where I need to die intentionally, because if you're about to see, I spawn in as normal Sonic. Now I want to spawn in as Metronic, which will let me clear his shield while taking damage. Now I can then use my bumper gloves to do a ton of hits on him, and theoretically I can one-cycle him before this screen even finishes fading from white. This is way quicker than playing the boss casually, and even if I miss it, there's some backup strats I can do that's still way faster than playing it. So this death here is entirely intentional this time, and it won't take me back to previously, it will take me back to the beginning of the boss. So I need to use audio cues here somewhat, and also a combination of video cues as well. Okay, first part good. Ooh, that's a clean hit. So I'm aiming for around 15, and 15 might be able to one-cycle him. If not, I can just kill him on his first phase instead, which is still super quick. That could... No, that's like 1 off. Honestly. Alright, I just need to be careful here, and I should be able to hit him. Time is coming up when screen fades to white, by the way, if anyone's still there. Okay, this is looking kind of sketchy. I'm not sure I'll be able to survive this. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to survive that. Whatever. Never mind. Game, why are you doing this to me today? I'll have to retime this as well at some point on my own time, because this has just been totally unfair. Technically, according to old timing rules, that would have counted, but not according to new ones, so what can you do? That should have got him, and it didn't. Right. Okay. I'm going to be careful with how I do this time. If I can kill him in this phase, yeah, that's way better, because that has no way of guaranteed killing me. So, time is coming up in just a second. Time. Okay, so that sucks. But it's marathon luck. What can you do? Also, there is a playable section after we call time. The reason we don't count that towards time is because what you just saw there happened. But also there is another kill that can happen, which is pretty guaranteed if you're standing against the edge of the wall. So you can physically beat the boss, have him not be doing any attacks, and be instant killed, even if you have rings. So we just call time before that happens, but there is still one more playable section here. It's also really slow. I don't have too many nice things to say about it. I missed a big one there. And I think I just got to do... Nope, it's here. See, this is how often I play this fast. Not very often, because it doesn't count towards anything. You've got to traverse for a lot of walls, and then once you do that, Sonic becomes the saviour of the Sky Empire. Don't ask me about all the middle bits. Just ask me about the fact that he saved the Sky Empire, okay? I totally know that. That Sonic Chrono Adventure, I've painted it quite badly, but it is a pretty fun game. I would recommend it. It's at its best when you're just casually wandering around aimlessly with no clue what to do. That's when it's its most fun. When it's its worst is when you're actively pursuing what I'm doing, which is when you're trying to. I don't know how you describe it. When you know exactly where you're going, but you don't quite know where you're going. When you've got to trigger specific story events and you can't find it and you're wandering around aimlessly, that's just when it, I don't know, becomes its worst. But we're here at the credits. There is one thing that we got to stick around for the credits for. It's coming up in just a moment. And it is not quite there yet. I thought it was in this section. Nope. Come on. Anytime now. There it is, original Sopnik games. There's the list of all of our excellent tunes. And also remixes as well in there. Just do want to say as well, shout outs to the Sonic BTS and ATS communities. We do have a Discord for that type of thing with various channels for all of the games. So this game, Sonic Before the Sequel Aftermath, Sonic Before the Sequel, and Sonic After the Sequel. All have their own channels. We route in there, we talk about the games, etc. There's a link on SRC. Likewise, all these games are on SRC if you want to watch. And there's our little teaser, Spark the Electric Jester, which came out 4 years after. He went indie instead of Fangame. Boo, but it's a good game anyway. That was it. Sonic Chrono Adventure. Thank you all for having me. Stay tuned for the rest of the marathon and hope you had fun. GG's.
Nice run, dude. That was really solid. I know you may be maybe slightly disappointed by how the ending went, but you got to understand that's how probably a lot of runs in this marathon in general will go. Because, when you play hard games or hard runs, it's just going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. I've got to consider that. Definitely.
So good stuff. That was really solid in terms of commentary, and certainly a good showing of the game.
Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone who helped me route that and learn how to commentate that along the way.
So we're going to be transitioning over. We actually have some technical difficulties to sort out, and you, Viper, if you're able to stick around for a bit and see if we can diagnose that, that would be much appreciated. But thank you for the run. We're going to play some music for a bit, and you guys just sit tight while we work this out. We should be able to get